we're happy to have the Dean of the Computer Science Department here, Carsten Binning, who will give you introductory words.
Hope that my slides are coming back in a second. So also welcome from my end. My name is Carsten Binning. I'm Dean of the department, also professor here at the department since 1st of April last year. I'm Dean until next April, so I welcome all the new students, bachelor and master students in the summer and the winter term. And now that we are in the summer term, it's all master students here. So welcome to Darmstadt. So where are you? You are in a computer science department that is actually number 2 in Germany. Most people don't know, but we are, after Munich, the second kind of strongest research department, CS department in terms of CS research. And that is the reason Darmstadt has early on invested in strategic areas such as cybersecurity and AI. And you will see that during your courses. We have faculty that is internationally leading in these fields, meaning in computer science and AI. We have people in kind of leading in natural language processing, which is behind large language models these days. We have people that are leading in the cybersecurity area, and this is also reflected in all the activities that happen here in Darmstadt. Therefore, welcome to a strong CS department, and you are the next crowd who will be kind of supporting that and growing the CS department, because many of you, if you finish your masters, there's also an opportunity to stay here in the research area and work with us on research-oriented topics during your masters already, but later on also if you, for example, think about doing a PhD, etc., there's a chance to continue your career in research. I have a few more slides. I'll share them with you. I browse over many of them rather quickly because there are a lot of details on them. But I'll give it to you for reference, and you can maybe share it with all the students after the welcome. So CS is strong here, and this is not only reflected by this research ranking, but also by many other rankings. If you go through any of the rankings that DFG provides or Times Higher Education, computer science in Darmstadt is seen as a very strong department internationally. And this is reflected in many other activities we have in terms of research funding. There's an excellence line called ERC on the European level. We have a number of these ERC grants, which are given out to outstanding professors in computer science and other fields, but also in computer science. We have a high number of these ERC grants and are successful in many other of the really high-profile research activities in Germany. So where we are in particular kind of proud of is that we've been successful in the last round of the Excellence Initiative. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but it's often in the news. So Darmstadt participated in the last round of competition, was successful with 2 clusters. One is a cluster that is completely driven by computer science. It's called Reasonable AI, and it is about driving the next generation of AI. And the idea is, so instead of just scaling further and getting bigger and bigger models, which is today the success of large language models, that they are just growing and kind of requiring more and more capacity for the next generation of AI. The idea of reasonable AI is also to think about what would be maybe an alternative that is not just by getting better, by growing, but ideas such as, can we compose AI systems by making them more modular and kind of making them still at the same time as powerful as large language models are today. The TU Darmstadt has also been successful not only with the kind of reasonable AI cluster, there's also a second cluster of excellence. So this is one of the projects part of the Excellence Initiative, where different disciplines, not only CS, but neuroscience, as well as psychology, or got together to think about what it means. How does human behavior adapt to highly dynamic worlds? And this is also interesting for computer science, in particular AI, to see how can systems quickly adapt to new environments. One discussion you might have had, or I'm not sure if you are reading the news, is the question, is CS still something one should kind of study? Because if you look into the media today and hear what the big tech companies say, the question is, are the skills of computer scientists needed? Because we have large language models which can generate code, right? So why would a CS student be needed if you can just use natural language to generate your software, right? And therefore, I have my own opinion, and my opinion is quite on the contrary. And I think that CS is not obsolete at all. It's rather more important than ever. And I've just published a post on LinkedIn titled "Why AI Does Not Eat Computer Science." And for me, code-generating tools like large language models are just another level of abstraction that we as computer scientists can use. It helps us to build software faster, but at the end, someone still needs to understand what we've been building. So my analogy is always, would you sit in an airplane that is completely constructed by an LLM? Maybe just raise your hand if you would do that. So why should one use software that is completely constructed by an LLM? It's as brittle, right? Nobody looked at it. So in an airplane, we expect that an engineer has been overlooking, even if we automate the construction, has been overlooking the construction process and guarantees that at the end, whatever has been engineered is correct. And this is what your tasks as computer scientists will maybe move on in future. We are maybe not directly programming systems anymore. We have better tools to faster engineer these systems, but at the end, we still need to make sure that the systems that are out there, and in particular software, is working correctly. And this is our kind of duty as engineers to still maintain that. And meaning that we have tools that allow us to build faster software means that we just can build much more software than we have been building in the past, right? There has been a lot of areas where software is missing today. With LLMs, we can kind of software-ify every single area of this planet. So we can make software for even single tasks that you need to do, right? So where maybe in the past nobody would have built software for a one-time task that you are doing, today it's possible. But meaning, at the same time, we need to have people who understand what the software is doing and kind of making sure that the software is working correct. And therefore, I think you are in the right kind of program. CS is important, but it will change. We can take questions at the end. I'm happy to get even in a debate about that. I'm not sure if we have time today, but if you meet me on the floors, talk to me about that, and I'm happy to share my opinion. In Darmstadt, we've early on thought about it. So we have a modern CS program that actually, I think, reflects the important areas for a future CS curriculum. We've early on invested in cybersecurity and privacy, which is today, in terms of AI, even more important. Systems that are kind of generated by LLMs are more brittle, are more prone to attacks, and therefore, everything that is related to cybersecurity to make software more robust, more safe is important. We've invested in AI. So when I came to Darmstadt in 2017, Darmstadt invested heavily already in the first AI professorships, and now we've been successfully hiring internationally really leading experts in this area, getting also people back from industry like Markus Rohrbach, if you might, for example, hear his name. He came back from Meta AI doing research in this area on the industrial side, and now is also here in Darmstadt. And we've been growing the team of AI professors quite early on, and therefore AI is also a larger area of our CS curriculum. And the last area is complex and networked systems. So everything, if you look at the cloud and what it actually means, everything today is connected from your end device to servers that are in the cloud, and it's not just one server, often it's complex systems that interact. And therefore, we've also kind of invested in that area. And I think these three areas, if you think about what modern computer science should be, are for me at least the main ingredients that a modern CX curriculum needs. The next slides just show you the professors we hired in the different areas, and some of them are already here for longer, already quite for some time, but this is just to give you an overview of what we have. We have people in, as I said, in various areas of artificial intelligence. This is quite a bigger cluster. The area of cybersecurity and privacy has many people, and sometimes you see the same faces in, for example, in two profiles because they cover or span across cybersecurity and AI, for example, like Mira. And we have also in the other area, like complex network systems, we've quite substantially hired people in that area and built up this cluster of expertise. So far to our research and why CS is important and why we have a modern computer science here in Darmstadt. In Darmstadt, computer science at the university is also one of the biggest departments. By now we have the largest share of students. So at the moment we are at 4,300 students. We have quite grown also our professor side to more than 30 professors. We have a large body of PhD students, meaning this is your entry to CS research. You do a doctorate. We've also here a substantial number of PhD students doing cutting-edge research in computer science. Our programs, you are in one of the master's programs. We have a bachelor's program here in Darmstadt, as well as I said, if you continue after your master, you can continue with the doctorate program that we have here also for going into CS research. If you are here, maybe during your master's, you also want to do an exchange semester with another university, and therefore, I think Tim will talk a bit more about these things later on, but there are a lot of exchange programs and activities that you can participate and maybe also look into those directions. It's always good to see also a bit more international-wide how other universities operate and what they are doing, and therefore, looking into these exchange programs is an interesting opportunity to learn even more. So in terms of Darmstadt, coming back from exchange to local, so where are we? Today we are in the Piloti building. It's next to the beautiful Herrengarten. We have a few more buildings here in Darmstadt where you might have courses, or if you work with our kind of different professors, for example, during one of the courses or as part of your thesis, you will see maybe the SciSec building, which is mainly for the cybersecurity professors. We are part of the Alte Hauptgebäude, where some of the robotics labs are. So if you will work with a robotics professor, there's a chance also that you see these buildings. We are currently renovating in between Piloti and cybersecurity. I'm sure you might have seen it, there's a building under construction, which will also be future CS building. Because we are growing, we need more space, and so in between these two buildings, will be another building for CS. And then we have some other kind of a bit further away buildings here in Landwehrstraße, where many of the AI professors are sitting, as well as, for example, one of the research centers, the German Center of Artificial Intelligence, has an office there, as well as some labs are sitting in Mornewegstraße, which is close to the main station, which are rented offices and that we have also to fill the need of space that we have as a growing department. Beyond the university, or within and beyond the university, there's a lot of activity in research projects. You might have hear about them in future. For example, Athene is one of the biggest flagships in cybersecurity research. Hessian AI is our AI center here in Darmstadt, where many of the AI professors are active in. But we also have some research centers that are kind of have relations to the university, but are not part of the university, which are, for example, the Fraunhofer centers here in Darmstadt, one for computer graphics, one for cybersecurity. We have the German kind of research center of AI here in Darmstadt, and many of the professors that are in the department are active in these research, additional research centers and activities here. Beyond TU Darmstadt, Darmstadt is a city where not just TU Darmstadt and the other research centers are. There's a lot of other things going on. Just to name a few, there is, for example, GSI Helmholtz Center, if you know, for example, CERN. So who knows CERN here? So the kind of where you often hear it because they have large-scale facilities for physics research. We have a similar kind of center here in Darmstadt, which people don't know, which is in the north of Darmstadt, which is called GSI. Or we have the one of the main hubs of the European Space Agency, where you can see just control rooms of satellites, which is pretty interesting. They offer tours also through their kind of offices. So there's also much more going on than TU Darmstadt in the larger area of the city. You are computer science students here in Darmstadt, and one thing that we try to push a lot in the last years in Hesse, but also as TU Darmstadt, is the opportunities for you to create a startup, either during your master program or at the end of your master program if you have an idea. And today it's easier than ever to start a company, kind of a new company in the area of CS and AI. And therefore there's a lot of funding programs today that are available where you with low overhead get funding for your startup if you are interested in that. For example, as part of the Hessian AI Center, there is a program called Startup Rising, where you can get for the first 1 or 2 years funding for your company, or for example, in the area of cybersecurity within the Athene kind of center, there's also a program called Startup Secure. If you are doing, if you have a startup that is somewhat security related, they offer funding for startups. So use this chance. It's a good way to bootstrap your own company, to kind of bring your own ideas into this world. I think this is an exciting possibility to really shape the world, and therefore startups and thinking about startups is one of your future potential career paths that you can think of. And with that, I hope that you enjoy your studies here in Darmstadt. We'll see each other probably in one or the other courses. I'm teaching courses in the area of modern data systems, meaning if you know Google BigQuery and whatnot, so scalable data systems. This is what my area is, also in the intersection of AI. Today, every field is somewhat also looking into AI, and we also teach courses in this intersection of AI and data systems. So with that, yeah, enjoy your start here. I can take maybe this one question where there was the hand raise, and then I will hand back to the Fachschaft again. But maybe just you raise the hand. Feel free to ask.
It was not so much a question. I mean, you were talking about how it's still important to study computer science, and I mean, I do agree with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Software that was kind of supervised by another model, right? And I guess as engineers, this might help us to build better tools also to verify software, but at the end, I guess a human with human expertise, at least for whatever the next X years are, need to look over at where AI is going and what this means for society and what our position of humans then will be. I think this is a larger and maybe even more philosophical, or partially also philosophical debate, but at the moment I don't see that this need that really an expert human person is looking over what AI is generating, and whatever that is needed, right? And the second thing is, my experience is, if you don't have the right expertise, it's hard to steer AI into a direction that really makes sense. So my productivity gained a lot because I'm already an expert. I know what I want, right? But if you don't know what you want, so would you trust somebody without expertise just using an LLM and constructing anything, right? So my analogy is, would I trust someone who never studied kind of aeronautics, or kind of mechanical engineering, building a car? And if someone can just generate a car with the help of AI. So I would not trust a car that is being built by someone who has no expertise on how a car is working. And therefore, my analogy for CS is you need CS expertise. Even if you generate software with LLMs, the expertise will be needed as a starting point. You know kind of what you want, and you need to tell an AI system what you want to construct at the end. So let's see where this is going. I think this debate is interesting and will shape CS also in the next few years. I'm convinced CS will change. CS will not be in a few years what CS is today. Also software will change. So software which is static automation of processes, so somebody implemented a program to do X, will not be computing anymore in the future. So computing will be something more that is much more flexible, kind of serving what the user actually wants to do. So it's not as static as it is today. So let's see where CS is going. It should be exciting for you to be part of shaping CS. So, with that, use your chance here in Darmstadt, and I'd like to hand over back to the Fachschaft. See you.
Dankeschön. Great. So, before we continue, I'd like to point out that we, also for the people in the stream, we are streaming this. And we have a moderation for that. And we have a moderator sitting there. Say hi. Okay. And if you have any questions, we have a dedicated tool for that because we're computer scientists. And you can reach it at d120.de/questions. And the advantage is that we are not allowed to give you the microphone because then you would appear in the stream and we would need a DSGVO conformity from you, which we don't have. So please use this tool to ask any questions, and our moderator will ask them for you. Questions? Great. Then let us continue. So first of all, I'm 1/3 of the head of the organization for this orientation week, and the other two are you.
Hannah.
And you.
I'm Claudius, hello.
Yeah, and the three of us, we organized this year, but that can't be done alone. So we have a lot of helpers, but they're just gathering, so there they are. Yeah, many helpers. We wear these pink shirts, so if you have any question, you can ask any of us, and we will try to help you out as good as we can. Yeah. Besides this, I don't know if you had this in your bachelor's week, but the orientation week here is a 3-day program where we're doing this since years, and you'll meet other peoples. We will show you the campus, and we will show you Darmstadt, and we are trying to get you to have some fun, meet others, and learn stuff, and prepare you for your studies. You can find the schedule at d120.de/Ophase. We will try to keep this up to date, and it should be. If you have any questions about any part of the schedule, you can ask the help desk, and I'll introduce them in a second. We will have lectures, we will have talks about the infrastructure, what you will need living in Germany in general, because many of you will not be from Germany. What you'll need to know about Darmstadt, what parts of it is interesting here, and give you a small rally and stuff. This is the schedule as of now. Was? Oops. Technical difficulties. Technical university, technical difficulties. That's what you get. Great.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You can also see this on the last page or on the back of your little info booklet, the Ophase. Is this on?
No.
No, okay. So if you look at your info booklet, this should also be on there, or otherwise just look at the QR code, it's online as well. And there's also a PDF version if you haven't gotten a paper version.
There's way more information in your info booklet. You should read it. I think we could also just go through the schedule for today. We'll have this welcome meeting now for like 15 minutes from now. And after that, we'll have, we're 15 minutes over schedule. Whoops. And then we'll have Tim here, give you a talk about the student give you the student advisory talk. Then we'll have lunch together, the intercultural talk, a get together, social stuff, and you talk to each other. And then we have games and a city tour.
Yes.
If you need anything and you can't see anyone in our bright pink shirts, we have a help desk here. 1/3 of the help desk is standing there, the others you can see in the picture. They coordinate the Ophase, they help you when you're lost, and they are always there the whole orientation week for questions. They are sitting in D120, which is below us, and
yes. Yeah. Also on your name tag, there should be a phone number for the help desk. You can call it, and then you can speak to the help desk.
I don't know if the arrow helps you, but that's where D120 is.
Yes.
This time we also have 4 international mentors here.
International mentors
yeah.
sitting in the front row.
They're wearing yellow name tags, and they're here for international questions. Questions about visas, about the accommodation, and they're just there and will be there through your studies as some form of contact persons or buddies if you have any questions regarding living in Germany or anything like that.
Yep.
Is this correct? Great. And they will introduce themselves later on in the intercultural talk. As of now, you should have the Ophase, the info booklet, a name tag, and a goodie bag. If you miss anything of that, then you can get it from the help desk in the under 20. In the info booklet, you get an overview about the orientation week, you get the contact details of the help desk, as you get on your name tag, and more informations about the Technical University of Darmstadt and Darmstadt itself.
Yes.
These are the name tags. That's an old picture, but they should be roughly the same. Regarding the lanyards, you will have strings colored red or green. If you have a green string, we assume that you're fine with being on photos. And we will avoid having anyone on photos with a red lanyard, and if you are, we will blur you before storing the photos. So if you notice you have a green one but want a red one, you can get the other one in the help desk as well. We have a lot of goodies in the good bags this year, brochures and way more stuff. I have no idea what
we have
exactly
a lot of
is in
great
there.
stuff this year, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. All right. Yep. Tim.
Yeah.
Question. You should get a microphone. Yeah.
Was the library tour moved from today to tomorrow? Since in the email, the library tour was scheduled for today.
That's correct. We moved the library tour because they notified us that they don't have time. They have a new IT system that they are introducing today, and that's why they don't have time for us, sadly. But tomorrow, from 12 to 1:30, they'll give us a tour.
Yes.
Tim.
The one and only.
The one and only Neubacher. My name is Neubacher, Tim Neubacher. This is for you.
If someone needs to attend the toilets, probably now is a good time because I'm going to start in like 1, 2, 3 minutes probably, depending. Okay.
Depending on the technical setup.
Ich habe meinen Kaffee. Ich habe das Wichtigste.
Hast du ein Mikro?
Wieso nimmt das Mikro und nicht die Head-Dinger? Ich habe keine Ahnung. Also alles klar. Ich habe den, das ist, Leute. So. Sollen wir loslegen? Alright. Alright. First one got back. Fine for me. So, welcome. Also from probably one of the oldest members of the department, in age and working here. I'm Tim Neubacher, Tim is fine. I did my diploma studies here, starting by end of the 90s and finalizing, I don't tell you. It took me quite long to finalize my degree. And since beginning of 2008, I'm working in the Dean's office. I'm student advisor for the master students, partly exchange coordinator, also partly involved in the master's admissions. I'm heading the bachelor's mentoring system. I'm one of the 2 people responsible for people with handicaps. And maiden for everything, essentially. So somewhat the history and the memory of the department as well. Most of the professors are younger than me by now. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to introduce a few topics that are usually popping up at the beginning of each term within the group of the freshmen. If you have any questions, raise your hand, of course, or use the questions thingy the Students' Council created. I'm wearing a headset, so I'm not able to provide the microphone. Just speak out loud. I'm going to repeat the questions then for the stream and answer the same. It's not a complete overview of everything that might play a role during your studies. So my first big suggestion is read up the necessary documents. Study regulations, general examination terms, the websites, because usually the joke comes a bit later during my talk. I can guarantee you that we have every information, or almost every information, ready steady somewhere. We're not going to tell you where. Has been actually the same situation when I took up my studies by the end of the 90s. So that's a very specific thing for the theoretical University of TU Darmstadt. Get used to where you can find information. Just an example, I had a spontaneous advisory talk in the morning already, student second semester, who has not read up how to correctly register courses in Toucan, and I will show that in a live demo tomorrow. And now he probably lost 6 credits. Alrighty, right. A bit more detailed, what I'm going to do, a short overview of the structure of the degrees. And I'm going to explain a little later why it's a short overview and why it doesn't really make sense to dive deep into this section. Then I'm going to flip through some examination-related topics and some more general information. And at the very end, I will provide some more information how to gather advice, whom to get in touch with respect to certain requests or something. And as I said, if you have any questions during the talk, just raise your hand, let me know, right? Okay. So, an overview of the German-taught Master Informatik. And when we introduced the English-taught computer science program, I was actually laughing my ass a bit off because the central facilities are responsible for this nice, colorful overview of our study degrees, and they translated the German-taught program with computer science. And then we introduced a computer science program as well. And they were like, oh fuck, how to solve that? And that's the reason why there's German-taught and English-taught in brackets after the names of the study programs. Not our concern. So, and it's always, the best problem is always an SEP, somebody else's problem. If you can make an P to an SEP, do so. All right, so we do have the overview, and you can see that there are just ranges of credits essentially stated for the structure. And that's actually the only thing you need to cover. So which courses? And now a short introduction on the terms, about the terms. Study program, degree program, whatever, areas, within areas, modules, within modules, 1 to an arbitrary amount of courses, exams or achievements bound to either courses or modules. You will get that a bit more detailed if I show you how to register correctly in Toucan tomorrow. But that's really important because sometimes international students name courses, but instead actually mean program, and it's always a bit of fuzzy in the communication. So try to get the terms straight. So please don't necessarily go for exactly 120 credits. Go for courses you rather like, actually, or find a bit of interest for the course. Even if you exceed the 120 credits, it will feel like less workload and you will achieve better grades, right? Plus, we cannot guarantee anyways that you exactly cover 120 credits. So, sorry. As long as you fulfill all the criteria enlisted here or in the regulations, right? There's the so-called Plan of Studies and Examinations, Studienprüfungsplan, on our computer science websites. Don't use the central ones anymore. They're lacking information. Sometimes students have to study a semester more because they missed a seminar or something. But as long as you cover all the criteria, and you see here, for example, in the seminars, a minimum of 3 credits, so 1 seminar. And you won't find the information in every online description from the central facilities. If you cover all these criteria recursively, and at the very end conduct your thesis, you could actually start with that. I'm getting back to that later, you're done. On the other hand, we can't make any promises which courses are offered in which semester, and. Next interesting information, probably there's the so-called freedom of research in teaching, Freiheit von Studium und Lehre, which is a legal base for universities, University of Applied Sciences in Germany and so on, which essentially leads to we can't interfere with anything our professors are doing. So you actually can't plan ahead your studies in a very good way for the whole time. There are, of course, courses, lectures, seminars, labs offered on regular basis. But sometimes there are smaller courses offered more or less randomly, right? So you always have to make sure at the beginning of each term what's actually offered, what is to be registered, which courses are to be registered for my degree, and then go for it and plan around the changes probably a bit. It is somewhat consistent, but there are changes. For example, if a professor has a semester on leave, then the turns are changing, the semester offers are changing. All right, so, but of course, it's not really that easy because you have differences in the types of the courses offered. In the first areas, here, you have the so-called Fachprüfungen. And that's something out of many things in German, probably not easy to translate at all. It's a legal distinction, actually, rather than in our department, as well, the distinction between lectures and integrated lectures and seminars labs. But that's very departmental specific, actually. Essentially, Fachprüfung means that you only have 3 attempts, topmost, whilst for the Studienleistung you would have an infinite amount of attempts. There are certain rules for the lectures, integrated lectures with the Fachprüfung as well, but it doesn't have to be. For example, in general education, you will identify probably lectures that are also Studienleistung. In our department, lectures, integrated lectures, Fachprüfungen, seminars, labs, teaching interns, and so on, Studienleistung. So, if you cover all the minima and reach the necessary credits, and rather towards the end, the thesis, that's a recommendation. You could start with a thesis if you identify a supervisor willing to supervise you. Then you're done, and you get your degree. Totally easy. Actually, the dropout in the masters is not that high, so should be fine. There's also something like a Studienarbeit that you can't find that in Tukan, you won't be able to register it in Tukan, and then it's meant to solve certain issues or cooperations within Germany and other universities and so on and so forth. If you ever encounter this Studienarbeit or the offer for the same, just drop by one of my consultation hours and get the explanation in detail, all right? Because it's a very exceptional thing to happen anyways. So, and the other programs, different names, same procedure. IT security, different elective areas, but also, as you can see, a minimum of seminar, minimum of lab, project lab, minimum, a max of 1 teaching intern, different areas, different credits. If you cover everything with respect to what's offered and register correctly, you're done. Slightly different. Autonomous systems and robotics. Who's enrolled in autonomous systems and robotics? Cool. 2. Matching quota. Anyways, if you steer and look up either the recordings or be there tomorrow in the live demo, I'll try to use the autonomous system robotics to make that a bit more explicit. If possible, always register the courses in the mandatory electives, Wahlpflichtbereich. The mandatory electives, Wahlpflichtbereiche, are always a subset of the elective areas. And you need to cover the minimum credits here. Legal base in Germany, usually if you register a course in a specific area, it's a declaration of will. And if you get the grade, it's illegal to adjust it afterwards. If you run into this situation, just drop by in my consultation hour. Hint, hint. Anyways, in order to provide, to get around more workload, probably just make sure if it's included in both the elective areas and the mandatory electives, go for the mandatory electives. Besides, everything exactly the same. Slightly different again, computer science, English taught. What happens a lot in the very first weeks when the lectures are going to start? I'm not able to see any lectures for registration. I'm not able to see any lectures for registration. Have you chosen your specialization? What? 3 specializations at the moment given. Same for the German taught program, even though there is only the individual specialization, because we had to put a name on it. The idea is that we can change the specializations over time, probably introducing another specialization in the German taught program, or changing specialization, adding some in the English taught program. In order to see the registration, besides the core areas, theory and software hardware, you need to select a specialization in a different, slightly different way in Tucan, because Tucan is meant to make your life way more complicated. And with the speed after the update, the latest, it's somewhat a de-speeding tool as well. So if I started in the morning, I can fetch a coffee. Then I open the back end. I can fetch another coffee. And then I can work on your issues, right? For you, it should be essentially the same at the moment. So you have to select the specializations. And then, if you steer into the right area for the registration, you will see all the areas, actually. And it's a very interesting way to navigate through the tree structure of the degrees. And it's actually binary trees. My colleague and myself were in my office for one whole day, just scribbling binary trees with all the conditions, like minima credits, overall credits, and whatever on the whiteboards. And it's so well structured. I'm so proud of ourselves. So, but yeah, again. And what you may encounter is the different size of general education. Of course, the subset of courses offered by our department is different with respect to the emphasis of the study programs. But essentially, if you can see, another very important information. You can look up the course description handbooks on our websites. And you may encounter that they are a little bit outdated. Because we have to actually update and work on over 1,000 pages in Word to update them. Guess who's also responsible? And we do have a solution in the near future, hopefully, because we're now using students to do the same. But they have to work on some other issues at the moment. So in the somewhat nearest future, and I'm talking about like in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to update the course description handbooks. But if you steer into the right area for registration and see something available for registration, it will count towards this area. Tucan is the leading tool, right? And it is definitely outdated. I think roughly 50 courses, new courses are missing in the course description handbooks at the moment. All right, before I proceed with the exam-related topics, any questions to structures, something, anything I just mentioned, either online? All right.
Yeah, we have some questions online. So here somebody asks, how many modules should I realistically take in the first semester? And is there a recommended course combination for beginners?
Shall I repeat, or is that recorded? Leon? Recorded? Okay. Cool, because I usually just miss to repeat the questions. Okay, so, but is there a recommended combination of courses? No. Not at all. Same for the number of credits or modules, courses. Okay, the credits are bound to the modules, the contact hours are bound to the courses. Something you probably don't need to remember, besides the credit part. It depends. I mean, I don't know about the skills, the constraints besides the studies. If you have to take care of relatives, if you have to work 20 hours each week, you will be able to take less credits in the semester. If you're one of those, I don't know, people who are able to gain 50, 60 credits per semester, fine. I encountered that exactly twice in the last 15 years. Give it a shot if you want to. It's not easy to remove failed courses in the exam-related areas, so probably. My personal recommendation from the point of student advisory is somewhat relax in the first semester. More important is to get used to the system, to the groups, to get in touch with fellow students, to build up procedures, routines. And of course, if you drop by belated, because visa issues, international students often encounter the situation, just go for somewhat between 10 and 20 credits, for example. We're a very nice and easy department. Hessian University law states that students who are not able to pass one achievement for their studies after every second year can get exmatriculated. So, unrealistic calculation. The smallest unit size, smallest course module size, is 3 credits. If you take 3 credits every second year and pass it, and then finalize the thesis at the very end, you can, by numbers, stay correctly enrolled in our masters for 63 years. Not a recommendation, though, right? So as long as it's just the first semester or just the orientation semesters at the very beginning of your studies, if you run into any questions, issues, just lower the size, actually. Deregister, you have a very long time to deregister on your own, and Toucan as well, until you find yourself comfortable in the situation, and then extend it over time. Way easier, way less failed attempts. But on the, as I started, I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know how you work, how much time you have, your skills, your pre-studies, and whatever. Take a bunch, observe yourself, narrow it down to the right combination. That's a recommendation for every semester anyways. Any other question?
We have some more questions online. So here's a question about the lab courses. How are the lab courses conducted?
Okay. So seminars and labs both, and teaching interns as well, are very different to each other. Basically, no discussion seminars in most of the cases. So seminars, you will get a topic and you have to work on the topic either alone or in small groups, do research on the state-of-the-art research on the topic and present the results either in written or oral form or both. Seminars. Sometimes peer review methods included or something else, and the seminars have 4 instead of 3 credits. Labs, hands-on work, again, individual task descriptions, alone or in small groups, and then you have to work on something, most likely something the group is researching on or requires for their teaching or their work in the group. And at the very end, technical report, submission, probably an oral presentation as well. Probably don't go for seminars and labs in the first semester. They are also meant to identify potential supervisors for your thesis. And it makes sense to get adjusted to the department, the structure and everything before you try out certain supervisors, actually. Plus, place restricted. You don't have an arbitrary amount of tasks to work on for students every semester. So there are kickoff meetings, specific criteria for selection sometimes, and that's definitely something you should prepare before you go for it in the second and third semester usually. That's a recommendation. What's definitely not meant with labs, internships. And you will probably in Tucan and in the course schedule encounter wrong translation still. We are not offering industry internships, nor are we accepting internships in industry at all. Research-oriented department, research-oriented study programs. Really, it's labs, not internships. Besides, the teaching intern, because you will help in teaching, and that's essentially really an internship, but in teaching. That's the distinction from the name. All right, I think that should have answered also the non-asked questions.
We have many questions online. There came a bunch in. I will prioritize a bit. So here somebody asks, can we register for courses taught in German, although my program is in English?
Okay, the next important information. Legally, if a study program is defined as German taught or English taught, it has to be possible to complete it completely in said language. As I already said, we are offering our courses in different areas and different programs, though there will definitely be some German taught courses in the English taught programs officially, and the other way around. No restrictions for the selection. If you think you can make it, go for it. Sometimes they even offer English translated exams at the end, and English consultation hours, and English material recommendations, and then solidly the PowerPoint karaoke will be in German. But it differs. That's one of the reasons why I usually recommend the freshmen be in way more lectures at the very beginning of your studies, or send some fellow students over, whatever, collect information also via the Geek Hub Discord or something like that, and figure out, is it really held in German or English? Because freedom of teaching and research, they can change the language of instruction without letting us know. Yay! Everything's a bit fuzzy, but you will learn a lot of self-organizational skills, self-motivational skills here as well. But yeah, so definitely possible. Whether you can make it successfully, I don't know.
Then we have a few more questions. So, what if the courses I choose are overlapping?
Select some other course. I mean, okay, just again, as I said, I'm the memory of the department. So we had every question already, almost every. It surprised me. You could ask the lecturer, I would recommend for the smaller of the courses, whether they can change the timings. But we're not the only big department here, and we actually do have almost 4,800 enrolled students at the moment, not 4,300. We need the lecture halls. And the other departments also need the lecture halls. So the first issue here is there another lecture hall available at a suitable time slot anyways? Second, if they identify, are willing to change it, and if they identify probably one or two other time slots, if only one student from the group in the smaller course states that it's now a new conflict, they have to go back to the original situation anyways. The chances that they will change the times in the best case. So you can ask, but I really don't think that it's working out. I think in the last 10 years it worked out exactly once. Therefore, either gather the information in any other way, fellow students. We don't have mandatory presence in the lectures. So as long as you can follow the content, go for it, right? Or change your course selection.
The next question is, how do you make sure to register for the Auflagen correctly? Is there also some special thing to remember in order for them to count correctly?
Yes. Okay, I will get back to the Auflagen remedial coursework in post conditions later on.
Then here is a question. What's the process to get credits transferred from a previous degree program to the new one? Email to the examinations office, or should we reach out to you?
So, there are, of course, specific criteria that need to be fulfilled in order for credits to be transferred. If there were already a bunch of students from your previous university, ask them. They can provide the draft for the request already. Otherwise, drop by in one of my consultation hours, and I'm going to explain that in a bit more detail. And yes, I'm the responsible person for the master's degrees there. And it's, yeah, just get in touch with me personally in the consultation hours is my recommendation, or via the advisory email address. But, and now I have to be honest, I'm almost every time stuck with roughly 1,500 to 2,000 unanswered emails. So, and that's not even the worst situation in our department. Let's just assume every student sends an email to the advisory email address, and the average answer takes 5 minutes, and we have 4,800 enrolled students. And I started introducing myself with all my jobs I have here, right? So, send an email, wait a bit, at least a week, if it's not really urgent in time, at least a week before you remind. Send a reminder. If you still get no response, drop by in the consultation hours. That's the reason why we offer so many walk-in hours, actually. And we're surely not able to answer all your requests via email in due time anymore. And the Hesse Ministry already defunded us by 10% last year, so we have to fire people instead of hire. I have a permanent contract. I'm safe. Yeah, so.
Next question is, what is the grading structure of each module? Is it mostly written examinations or oral examinations?
Okay. In most of the cases for lectures, integrated lectures, it's going to be a written exam. The repeat exams in the following semester, you have the lectures in one semester, an exam or achievement, either some or one in the same semester. If it's just one, then you definitely have a repeat exam in the following semester. The repeat exam may be oral, and the smaller courses are sometimes finalized with oral exams as well. But let's be honest, if I have 100, 200, 500 participants in my lecture, I'm definitely not going to offer oral exams anymore. So it will come down to the number of registrations, actually, for the course. They are allowed to provide both written or exams in the lecture, integrated lecture courses. With the seminars labs, depends. All right, further questions? Or should I proceed?
We have some further questions, so sorry. If a subject falls under multiple areas, how do we pick which area we want it to be assigned under?
During the registration procedure, small hint, take screenshots. Might sound funny, but as soon as you registered something in Tukan, you're not able to see anymore where you actually have registered the same until the grade is out. And then it's too late to readjust it. So just in order to make sure that you did it the right way, at least in the first semester, take screenshots. I'm going to show a live demo on how to register tomorrow, and then you will definitely understand why. Promised. Next question.
One last question. When is the examination schedule released, or maybe instead, how basically do we get the exam schedule?
Okay, so there is not really an exam schedule in the common sense. There's a timetable available in Tukan, forget it. Don't use it. Very important information. Create your own time schedule. On paper, digitally, whatever. Don't use the Tukan one. The exam dates for the lectures, integrated lectures, should be announced in the first 1 or 2 weeks of the lectures. But sometimes questions are pending. Are the lecture halls available then, and. So it might take a bit longer from time to time, but essentially you should be able to plan ahead somewhat after the first few weeks of lectures. No promises made. All right? Shall I proceed first of all? All right. So, okay, so again, Fachprüfung. What's the difference? 3 attempts. And then there's one so-called supplementary oral exam, mündliche Ergänzungsprüfung, which is part of the 3rd attempt. Or, to make it more correct, formally, legally, 2nd repeat attempt. Attempt, 1st repeat attempt, 2nd repeat attempt. If you fail a subject a 2nd time, you will be invited to a talk. And then I'm going to explain that a bit more detailed. As we don't have mandatory courses in the Masters and have defined our elective areas accordingly GET paragraph 35, you can remove 1 failed subject, 1, at latest after the 2nd failed attempt, from each of the areas. Right? So, software, hardware, theory, AI in the master German taught, system and communication security, for example, or cryptography and foundations in IT security, and. Right? So, most of the students really don't run into issues here because there's always a chance that you misjudge a content or a specific lecturer, whatever. In order to get around this issue, you're allowed to remove 1 of the subjects before the last attempt without any reasons. You can just send an email to the examination office, Studienbüro, and it's going to vanish from your Tukan account. The registration is required for everything during the registration periods. Seminars, labs, exams, slightly different from time to time. Also, other departments may have other registration periods. So have an eye on the details for every subject. And a lot of clicks. A lot of clicks. Promised. You can withdraw your registration to the exams until, I think, 8 days. It changes every time the GT changes. It's either 7 or 8 or 7 or 8. So somewhat 7, 8 days before the exam takes place on your own. The exception is, of course, if you're unable to take the exam. If you have medical issues or something, then you need medical certificate for the same. Within 3 working days, submitted, examination office, there's an online form for the same. And then, of course, it will not count as failed, right? And I think most students should be able to decide 7 days before the exam takes place whether they're on a good way to pass the exam or whether there's not really a chance to pass the exam. If you're not sure, deregister. Don't collect failed attempts. Doesn't really make sense. Right, 1 per area. There's also the option to remove a 2nd subject per area with good reasons. There are no good reasons. Legally, just an example, 1 good reason legally would be if you got new medicine and the side effects were not foreseeable by your medical doctor and he's certifying the same officially. That happened once in the last 15 years. So essentially there are not really good reasons, but if you run into the situation of having a failed 2nd course in one of the areas, probably also drop by in my consultation hours. Okay, everything has to be registered in Tukan. Don't get misleaded. Oh, everything's done in Moodle. I registered in Moodle. So what, right? As I said, Tukan is a leading tool. You will probably have to register on websites or in Moodle systems as well, and I will show the 2 most often used Moodle systems tomorrow, at least very shortly as well. So make sure that you register everything you want to go for in the semester also in Tukan. And there's of course way more information on that on the websites of the examination office, Studienbüro, on our departmental websites, and. All right, any questions to exam-related topics? Yes.
We have 1 question online. Can I register for a course in 1 semester and take the exam in some other following semester?
If it's not one of the very rare subjects where you have multiple exam parts in the same semester, because then the next possibility will be a year after. But for the regular lectures, integrated lectures, yes, completely possible. You actually have to, you don't actually need to register the module in the offering semester. If you decide later in the following semester you want to go for the repeat exam, you can let the examination office know and they will register you, right? So if you want to spare them workload, register. But if the semester is over, you're not able to deregister the module on your own anymore. So at some point your Toucan account gets overcrowded. But no harm, so it's just untidy. That's it? Cool. Multiple, so okay, exams are not interesting for you, okay. That's going to change. Sorry, it's way early in the morning. I had way too less coffee, I'm a bit sarcastic. So, multiple studies. If you take up more than one study program, it's of course possible to transfer credits if they're included in both programs in between. There are some very overlapping study programs in our department. Our recommendation is always make sure that you have at least 30 credits of discrepancy, or actually rather 60 credits. Why? Because getting 2 degrees just to have degree certificates doesn't make sense. Every somewhat useful HR person is going to check your transcripts. And you will see what's transferred. And the question would be, for which extra competencies have you gotten the 2nd degree? And you need to have answers for the same. And we identify that somewhere between 30 and 60. Every student has a bunch of at least small reasons for the same. And then it makes sense. And for example, you could go for some more generic one and then combine it with a specialized degree as well to have competences in different areas. There is no limit though. If it's suitable to transfer, and if you request it, we will. Including the thesis, right? It has to be requested by the examination office, and then we're going to explain more details and check the details as well. All right, now, Auflagen, imposed conditions, remedial coursework. So, as a rule, generically speaking, the conditions have to be fulfilled within 1 year, 2 semesters, in a maximum of 2 attempts each. If you're enrolled in part-time studies, the duration is doubled, but not the number of attempts. That's legal base. All right. They should or have to be registered by the examination office in most of the cases. I encountered another student in the morning who requested an extension because he misunderstood the information probably from the last orientation days. As I said, almost all lectures and integrated lectures have 1 exam every semester. But the lecture is only offered once a year. So you can get registered for the repeat exam in this semester, even though the course was held in the winter term. Then you have to figure out how to get the material and whatever. If you don't go for the repeat exam, you just have 1 attempt for the remedial coursework. I wouldn't recommend the same. Go for everything. Plus, so that's the first reason, those courses, modules, exams have to be registered by the examination office anyways, if they were offered in the last semester. Second reason, in the bachelor's, in the first year, the mandatory courses have prerequisites for the allowance to participate in the exam. But if we impose conditions, we have to make sure that you can take the attempts. So therefore, there are hidden modules, at least partly, and we're ignoring the things from the math departments and have another solution for that. So for everything that's in the first year of the bachelor's, you have to get registered by the examination office as well. So essentially, our recommendation is just get the remedial coursework, the imposed conditions registered by the examination office. That's essentially the answer of the question earlier. It's written in the letter from the department. I don't think that you have another chance to identify whether you have imposed conditions, remedial coursework anyways. But it should be included in the letter. If you have any questions on the imposed conditions, I am going to offer a few extra consultation hours within the next few weeks to discuss imposed conditions, Auflagen, open questions on the same. And we're receiving several thousand applications each semester. There's a group of I don't know how many people working on the same. We can always make a mistake. So probably we have overseen something. So if you're in doubt about your remedial coursework, your Auflagen, also drop by in one of the consultation hours. Right? I would need the transcript, the complete transcript of the bachelor's or every study program you conducted beforehand or started beforehand, you'd not even conducted, but started, to just check it. And that should be fine first of all. Right? And we are the ones to check the imposed conditions. So if you made a mistake, we will just drop 1, 2, all of them, depends. Happens from time to time. Probably the transcript was not complete when you applied, and there is some other course popping up now, or something, right? So cross-check it again. If in doubt, get it cross-checked by us. That's the only and best recommendation I can give you at the moment. All right. Any questions on remedial coursework, imposed conditions? Ah, 160 credit rule thingy. Yeah. Okay, a question I'm not able to answer finally, because we are not responsible. The question was, for the conditional enrollment, if you have not yet finalized or yet not able to provide the documents for the finalization of your previous degree. You can get enrolled for 2 semesters, topmost, under specific circumstances, and then you have to deliver the proof in the 2 semesters. Okay, short excursion. In German, Fachbereich, Fachliches. So essentially, department, subject-specific things. Everything that relates to the formal conditions, legal conditions, the overall process of admission, enrollment, and whatever, the central facilities are responsible. I'm not the expert. I know that they accepted some handwritten letters, for example, from Frankfurt, because they are still not able to provide final degree certificates because the system was broken or something. So in specific situations, they accepted also some certification letters and something like that. But you have to cross-check that against the right facility in the central administration. Okay, the distinction in the central facilities. If you have a German Matura, deutsches Abitur, Fachabi, Abitur und so weiter, Studierendenservice, student service. If you have a non-German Matura, and it really doesn't matter where you conducted your bachelor's. Not at all. It's really about the entrance qualification for the studies in general. Matura, Abitur, and so on. If it's a non-German, international admission. I think if you're already enrolled, you can always get in touch also with the student service. That should be fine. Any other questions on that? All right. Too late. Part-time studies, as I already slightly introduced, because of the duration for the imposed conditions, right? Part-time studies. There are several reasons why you can enroll into part-time studies. Some handicap reasons, work reasons, if you work more than X hours each week, and. Student committee activities, for example, as well. Responsible is the coordination center, service center, now it's called service center, sorry, it changed the name lately, 2 years ago. I'm old. Service center for studying with children and part-time studies, or something like that. Ms. Pfeiffer should be still there. You will see the criteria on the websites. What's going to change in our department? Not really much, to be honest. Because we're so flexible, we don't have any further rule besides the Hessian University rule with every second year. So the duration for the imposed condition doubles, and the duration to work on your thesis doubles. But for that, you just need to enroll into part-time studies before you register the thesis. So essentially in our department, because we are so easy with our rules, it's just a statement from the university that there are acceptable reasons that your studies took a bit longer, which you could probably show as well with a contract or something, right? But if it's, for example, taking care of relatives or handicap reason, it might make sense to get the university certification rather than having to deliver the medical certificates when you apply for jobs or something. All right, not really much more on that. There's a question. The question is, can you enroll in part-time studies? Essentially, are you limited in the number of credits or anything else if you enroll into part-time studies? No. You can just enroll into part-time studies, but as there is usually a good reason for the same, it's not that likely that you can reach 30 plus credits every semester then. But no limit. You need to, I think you need to decide for 25 or 50% study plan for statistical purposes or something. I don't know. It doesn't influence the number of credits or whatever you take here at all. And as well, if you don't enroll in part-time studies, you can still go for half of the credits each semester, fulfilling our criteria. As I said, not really much difference in our department. There are other departments, though, where it plays a role because they have something like X credits per time. And then you ease the situation if you enroll into part-time studies. But not in our department. Any other questions on part-time studies? Okay. I'm going to provide a short talk tomorrow, I think, as well, for Stays Abroad. It's a bit of advertisement. As we do have a lot of international students, you are currently staying abroad. Welcome. For you, the intercultural talk later might be a bit more of interest, but in general, we do have nice partner universities around the world. If you're interested, just drop by in the advertisement talk or in one of the consultation hours as well, right? It's very positive, of course, for your own CV, particularly if you want to go for a scientific career. It's almost expected to have some intercultural experience. The lead time is quite long. To be honest, most of you, if you're interested now to go abroad, will have to extend their studies. 1 and up to 1.5 years lead time for a regular stay abroad. And the next application period for all the possibilities, so not the leftover possibilities in the Erasmus Plus area, so essentially Europe, is in November. For the next year, winter term or the semester after. But we're sending out a lot of students who are actually done with their degree or almost done with their degrees because our interest is to provide intercultural competencies, intercultural experience, rather than collecting that many credits, right? Plus, you probably need to start the language classes early. A thesis could be applicable abroad. And there are, of course, several other options with shorter lead times. So if you're interested in staying abroad, definitely see the talk tomorrow. Any questions on that already? Okay. Then, that's usually the slide with the joke I started with. We have the important information somewhere. We're not going to tell you where. So where to gather news or information? Well, our website, the website of the university, the website of the department, the website of the study program, the Discord servers, the Students' Council Discord, the Geek Hub Discord, via Toucan from time to time, via email. If you receive a letter, it's usually not the easiest situation you're in. But sometimes, I think we don't send out faxes anymore. Last semester I received one from the Students' Council. We're going back in time now. Going full circle with the technique. And Moodle courses, groups websites, and so on. So the students who are already enrolled here do know about the situation already. I'm quite sure about that. I see a few heads nodding. That's the reason why the best recommendation is get into the system, the university and everything before you exceed your workload and whatever. Get adjusted. Look up where you can find information on specific topics, who's the responsible person, whatever. As I said, we're almost not able to answer emails in due time anyways, and we will definitely not forward every email we receive, even though we know who's the right contact person, because that takes time as well, right? So you can enhance the chances to get an answer in due time if you directly get in touch with the right person. Or if Guido's responsible, because he's always answering. I don't know I think he doesn't sleep. Anyways, and of course, if in doubt, drop by. Examination office. They have consultation hours via Zoom, phone, also in presence. You will find more information on their part of the departmental websites. I do have consultation hours. Actually, you will find on the websites that it's distinct between exchange affairs and student advisory. Not so much in reality. It helps to not switch the topic the whole time through. But if you can't make it on Tuesdays, drop by on Wednesdays and the other way around, regardless of the topic you want to discuss, right? Try to get in touch with us via email. Everyone who waits too long at some point gets my personal email address. And it's just to let you feel better. I'm not answering those as well. Well, from time to time, right? From time to time, I'm answering emails. All right. Also, exchange email address, and that's it. Do we have any other questions at the moment? Any questions? Something I missed? Okay, the question, again, there was a similar question earlier, right? Is there a specific sequence or whatever? When we start in the summer term? No, because we do have groups who start their circles in the summer term. We have groups that start their lecture circles in the winter term. The combination might be slightly different with respect to workload, amount, and whatever. Look up the course descriptions and essentially be there in more courses than you want to follow till the end in the first weeks to get more information about what's really going to happen in the course. And do I think that I have the competencies they require, and it's not checked. So it's your decision at the end. If you take one or probably two courses where you don't really have the necessary background already, you should be able to keep up with the missing knowledge over time in this semester. If you go for solely those courses, it's going to be a very hard semester. And as we don't know you individually, that's the best answer you can get at the moment. Get in touch with fellow students, Students' Council, ECAP, and whatever. They have experience with almost all of the courses anyways. And then you can ask a bit more detailed questions on level, content, expectations, and. Right? But no fixed recommendation or something. Any other questions?
We have quite a lot of questions again online.
Don't tell anyone I'm getting paid to answer those questions.
So first of all, we have two questions about registering. So first of all, somebody here is a bit confused about what does registering mean exactly, in Moodle or in Toucan?
Both. Okay, a bit more detailed. A bit more detailed. As I stated earlier, you will most likely have to register in the Moodle courses they're using or whatever system they use in order to get the slides and information about the courses and probably room adjustment for the exams and something like that. But you need to register in Toucan to make it count towards your degree. So essentially both in very different ways.
Here somebody also has a question about registering. So does registering for a course count as an attempt or only after taking the exam?
Yeah. So as I said, it's going to be overcrowded in your Toucan account at some point because you can't deregister on your own when the term's done. But we actually, so that's, okay. Very nice department again. You could actually say that registering for the modules and the courses already enforces some requirement. We don't. So for us, it's as soon as you go for the exam and really go for the exam and fail it, right? If you pass it, it stays there anyways. You can't remove a pass. You can't actually remove a past course, nor can you improve a past course. So that's just solid as it is done. A failed course, from this point on, you're either required to finalize it or remove it. And that's one of the reasons why we introduced this paragraph 30 GT, sentence 5, one removal per area. As long as you just register to modules and courses.
Here is a question about the attempts. So what happens after the third failed attempt?
So if you fail for a third time, including the so-called supplementary oral exam, you will be exmatriculated from the degree. No way around. The lawyer's office is included at that moment as well. So nothing we can do. That's the reason why you shouldn't go for a last attempt if you can get around the same.
Then here's a question about the PhD. So is it possible to do a master's while also doing a PhD both at the CS department?
Let's start with, we don't have a fucking PhD in Germany. It's a doctorate. And there are so many differences. And the doctorate is way better. Hello, everyone in the US, UK. The doctorate is a paid position. You have a contract, it's a job. It's your first step for being a researcher, whilst the PhD is the last step of your studies, where you have to take courses. So, just to start with the differences. Formally, legally, yes, it is in general possible to get a doctorate position and still finalize a master's in parallel. But we have a lot of applicants for those positions, and if there are applicants with a finalized master's, your chances are not really as good. If you have another master's degree somewhere, probably, right? And it's always interesting if you take your own courses done. That's something the central facilities are not very eager about. So there are a few things you have to have an eye on, but in general it's possible. Next question, please.
Is Toucan considerable as a ground truth, or will some courses be available only through other sources?
No, everything should and will be offered in Toucan, or as we call it, Toucant.
And then one last question, very general question. What are common mistakes new students make?
Common mistakes. All right, common mistakes freshmen do. Go for. Wrong registration, missed registration, sitting in the lecture hall for the exam. Oh, damn, I'm not registered. Good luck next time. Because belated registration is only possible under very specific circumstances, and only once, and before the exam takes place, and then it. All right. Not getting in touch with the right people, fellow students, or the systems in advance. And then running into issues because they just missed important information, right? So not getting the right information in due time. And probably rushing too much. Also, the systems are very different to each other. The intercultural differences in university systems across the world are quite big, actually. So just because you managed to take more classes in your previous university and you were the best students in your batch or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean anything here. It may, but probably not. So don't assume too much at the beginning. Really go for it and check yourself. Observe yourself. How's my outcome, my progress, my speed? How are my constraints? How's it working out? And then adjust your time schedule, your expectations accordingly and whatever. Because frustration raises from wrong expectations and a clash of reality. So the best way to get around frustrating situations is to adjust your expectations. Because let's be honest, we won't adjust our university. And the reality probably as well. So your expectations are the blocking stone here. Go for it. And I think that's it. So taking too many classes, missing registrations, or missing important information. And very specific mistakes from time to time as well.
Concerning registrations, there's another question. So here somebody asks, should we wait with the registration for courses for tomorrow after the meeting? Or are we supposed to be already registered for the courses?
As always, the answer is neither yes nor no. You can just register if you want to. You can correct it later on as well. There are some courses, more likely in the following semester, seminars, labs, where you need to register probably a bit earlier to get the information about kickoff meetings and something like that. For the lectures and integrated lectures, if they're not restricted in number of participants, you could register directly with the exam registration in August, July, August, something like that. I don't have the exact dates memorized by heart. So you can as well just wait. You won't miss any important information via Tukan in our department anyways. So definitely wait for tomorrow probably, or even longer.
And then one last question. Do the courses provide a specific...
Wait, stop. Vorlesungsbegleitende Prüfung. That's not translatable. Parallel to semester examination achievements, probably, something like that. So if, that was already mentioned a few times earlier, if you have lectures or integrated lectures and more than one exam part in the same semester, counting directly towards the grade, not bonus systems, right? Really multiple exam parts. Then the exam registration may be way earlier in time, because we have to make sure that you registered for the first part of the exam already, and that might be a lab submission, actually, at some point. And as soon as that took place, you're not able to deregister as well, right? So for those modules, courses, have an eye on the criteria. They will have that on the introductory slides in the first week of lectures, definitely. So only a few groups offering those things anyways. And make sure that you meet the registration periods if you want to go for general education, language, facility, and, right? So those rules differ as well. Just as an additional information. All right.
We got some more questions in.
Really? How surprising.
Yeah, there's lots of questions. So here somebody asks, is it normal if we don't have a TU-ID Aktivierungscode as of now?
I don't know.
Okay.
Ask the HR set. Das macht das HZ, oder?
Okay.
Tukan team. There should be a responsible central facility for the same.
And here now, hopefully the last question. Do the courses provide a specific syllabus and study material such as slides, or do we have to look for those ourselves?
No, there's The times where you have to write your own scriptum are long gone, unfortunately. I had to do the same, and I want to see you suffer as well. No, they usually have either slides or book recommendations, sometimes even recordings, and it should be available either in old Moodle course already if you want to prepare, otherwise in the running ones in this semester. You should anyhow probably take notes if the lecturers mention additional information throughout the lectures, right? But you can probably note the slides or something, I don't know. Is there one course in our university where you need to create your own scriptum? Probably in the math department, I don't know. That's the last question? All right, thanks for the, there's another question. Wow, okay, that was the question. Yeah, I try. The question is what is, with respect, for example, on the level or something, the difference between the departments, specifically for the course offered in general education? This question is hard to answer. Because it comes down to your personal interest, skills, pre-education, and, right? If you're already skilled in political science, it will be a no-brainer to take a class from the political science department, or institute. Actually, it's the Department of Social Sciences and something. If you're not used, you may struggle. They have different numbers of English taught classes, of course. So that might be interesting. I'd say the level is in the engineering fields, it's comparable, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, also in the natural sciences somewhat. Math might be interesting. It's very proof-lasting in our university, also in our bachelors. So not really calculating, but really math. And they have some expectations, and it will come down to the experience with specific areas of math, for example. Humanities, social sciences should be fine if it's held in English, actually. They have, for example, also mandatory presence sometimes, discussion seminars, and. So there are a lot of small differences, but by level, I'd say probably some courses in electrical engineering, in mechanical engineering, a bit harder than our average, some of them, as well for a bigger portion of math courses, probably. Yeah, it comes down, in general education, you can only select what they offer for all students in our department, in our university, right? And they usually take out the very specific ones, because it's smaller classes anyways. Physics depends. There are some, I actually tried to go for laser physics and quantum physics when I searched for a minor during my time. And I asked two physics students, I don't know the symbols this crazy guy is painting on the blackboard. And I'm really good in math, so theoretical computer science. What do I need to know to follow these courses? And they were like, the base studies? Like 3 years? I was like, bye. I went to adult education, humanities then, that was way easier for me. So for those courses, you will have to have a lot of pre-knowledge. But we're not the experts for the lectures of the other departments. That's, again, same for the computer science courses. Go into some of them, be there, gather a bit more information on what's going to happen throughout the semester, and then figure out whether you think you can follow it. All right, further questions?
There's one more question or two more questions online. So the first one is, what is the deadline for a course registration?
probably the most important website part from our department. What? Quark. Windows P? Ja. Huh. Ha! Studies, students, because now you're caught, you're students. I'm so sorry. And then examination office, in this case, exams. And as you may see now, some information is solely stated in German. And you can see the registration periods on the website. And that's the only deadline. You can register the modules at exactly the same time on the courses, or at the very beginning, actually as soon as the course schedule is out, so the month before the next semester starts. But that's the latest deadline where you need to register everything in order to be registered correctly in Toucan. Okay. I'm done. I'm sorry. Thanks for the attention. If you have further questions, just let me know. If you see me running around having a cigarette and you have a short question, just let me know in my outside smoking offices. That's completely fine.
So we have a few questions online that are not for Tim, but maybe are more general. So first of all, the slide deck will be shared later. You will get the slides. And somebody here asks, if I can't be here today, will I be able to get a goodie bag tomorrow? Yes, you will be. And how does Mensa work? Philip will explain that now, because now it's time for lunch and we will go to Mensa.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, so of course there will be more occasions where you can ask questions and everything, but for now we'll go to the Mensa. And I don't know if you have already used student identifier. Usually you would need it and show your, for example, the TU Darmstadt app, where it's stated that you are a student and then you get a reduced price at the Mensa. I assume that not all of you have this already ready in your pocket. So for today, it's enough if you show your name tag. If you show this with the summer 2026, then they will give you the reduced prices, so these prices for students. And from tomorrow on, you'll have to show your identifier in your app or however you do it. But we'll show you that tomorrow. Till then, I think, yeah, of course, you have to pay by card or by Athene card if any one of you still has one, but the new system is just regular card paying. If you were not at the Mensa before, you can just follow us. I think most of us will go there. The international mentors will go there, we will go there, and you can just follow us into the Mensa and enjoy your great lunch.